Well, so what is it that you and I can do? Not throwing garbage into the lakes and controlling sewage pollution. These go a long way in restoring the blue water bodies of the city. And all our independent houses are giving way to flats, apartment complexes. Otherwise, these independent houses had, a lot of mango trees, jackfruit trees, and things like that. And all this green cover is slowly vanishing. So, what we can do is probably the horticulture department can encourage roof gardens, kitchen gardens, and grow our own food, at least to an extent, even medicinal plants. So, I strongly urge the resident welfare associations, NGOs, and corporates, to come together and create green spaces and conserve the blue spaces that we already have. UN Habitat's principle is 330-300 prescription it gives. What is 3? Every house, every school, every workplace should be able to have a view of 3 fully grown trees, and 30% of green cover is mandated to be present in neighborhoods, and within 300 meters of walk or a bike ride we should have an access to half hectare to 1 hectare of a park. Some green space should be available. If we can try and build these things into our life, definitely a lot of greenery and biodiversity, and in turn human health and well-being can be made. Now let me talk about snow leopard. Snow leopard is another apex predator, and many of you who go on Himalayan treks to Leh and Ladakh usually talk about snow leopard. The local tribes help in conservation of snow leopard. It maintains the health and balance of high altitude ecosystems. Isn't it majestic? And it is so naturally camouflaged with the mountains. It is present usually in the Asian region, and it is predominantly present in the Himalayas, in India, Nepal, and Tibet. So it is called the ghost of the mountains because you cannot identify where the snow leopard is actually pouncing. Okay, because it is so beautifully camouflaged with very closely with the mountains, and the numbers are declining because again due to loss of habitat. It primarily eats ibex, blue sheep, etc. Humans are omnipresent. We are entering everywhere. We are taking away their habitats, and hence they do not have enough habitat and enough prey base to survive. And that's why we are losing snow leopards. Well, here comes a majestic lion. Okay, where are lions found in India?
Gir, Sasangir.
Absolutely. So Gir is the last surviving, national park with tigers. There are about 200 odd lions right now. Okay, I'm sorry, lions. These are basically found in semi-arid, dry deciduous and grass scrublands. Okay, and they're again apex predators, and they help maintain ecosystem balance by preying on cheetal, nilgai, and sambar deers. Again, this Gir National Park also has a lot of man-animal conflict because in the name of development, we are fragmenting its habitat. There are 3 national highways and a railway track that passes through the Gir National Park. Okay, and tigers are not able to freely roam. It is said that the range of a male tiger is about 230 kilometers. Okay, only when they roam so much and only when they mate with species with populations that are outside their territory, the genes become strong. Okay, so there is a problem of inbreeding. Their genes are they're genetically becoming weak because of the habitat fragmentation. And so, what led to the conservation of the species is again community-led efforts. The forest department, along with communities, because this Gir National Park has a lot of farmers residing inside. There are a lot of tribes residing inside. So they took help of these. For example, the farmers were encouraged to build fences around the walls, around the wells. The NGOs like WWF, They pitched in along with the government and the local communities. They built fences around the wells. Otherwise, there would be dead lions found in the deep wells. Okay. So such kind of practices were taken. Community-led efforts again help conserve this species. Well, Gujarat government did not want to send this lion to anywhere else in the country because having all the population at one place is risky. We keep frequently seeing in news that lions got affected with canine distemper virus, and it affects one thing, it spreads to the entire population, and many lions die. So there is a risk. And now to Madhya Pradesh, some lions have been translocated, and we can see hopefully see thriving populations of lions in Madhya Pradesh as well. So, well, these are our favorite animals, right? So, elephants. Elephants are also important. Like every other species, I will reiterate this point, like every other species, and each species has a role to play in this ecosystem. Elephants also have a beautiful role to play. They are called ecosystem engineers because with their huge body, they walk through the forest, they actually create trails for other animals to run around and have access to other parts of the forest. And they actually dig holes for water. And this is in turn used by smaller animals. And they help loosen the soil, as I discussed earlier. They help in seed dispersal, and they help in, plant growth. And it is a keystone species. It is very, very important because if elephants vanish, there are other related animals that will lose their life. Okay. And they help in forest regeneration because they prune, they clear forest, fresh vegetation grows, and it also reduces the risk of wildfires. Well, elephant corridors are being poached, roads are built, railway tracks are laid, and this in turn is leading to lot of man-animal conflict. And they're poached for their tusks, for the ivory products. It is still very priced in the trade market, and hence elephant conservation is very, very important. You and I sitting in a city and discussing wildlife, what can we really do? Okay, at least for we will come to that slide, we will discuss at length. But if we can not take an elephant ride when we go somewhere, that is one step that we can definitely do, because elephants are trained in a very, very cruel manner to take instructions, and to sit, to take the human, to stand in a certain way, walk at a certain pace. They are trained in a very, very cruel manner. So just we giving up such unsustainable practices and cruel practices will pave a lot of way for the thriving of wildlife. Well, so in our forest conservation and wildlife efforts, indigenous tribes have always played a fantastic role, especially women-led groups. This picture is one of Santal tribes that are saying not to kill the forest. Okay, so one very interesting thing that I would want to share is sal trees in Odisha, Jharkhand, that area have been protected just by a group of 15 women with sickle and stick. They did not let the poachers hunt them down. They did not let the poachers to fell any trees, and they said you have to pass through us to do this deforestation. So indigenous people play a very important role because certain tribes, for example, I would want to talk about fishing practices of these indigenous people. What is the modern fishing style? To use trawlers, okay, to use deep fishing nets. And it is said that the trawlers that bring the fish or the shrimp especially, only 10% is of use. 90% is juvenile fish, and they are of no use, and they're thrown back dead into the water. So this ratio is very alarming, and it is very unsustainable fishing practice that is actually depleting a lot of fish resources. But some tribes like Wancho and Nokte, so Adi and Galo, what they use lipum fishing techniques. So they use large bamboo baskets with seaweeds, and they get attracted. The seaweed is eaten by small insects, and to eat these insects, fish do come and get trapped in the fish. So fishing is done that way. Once it gets caught in the bamboo basket, juvenile fishes are thrown back. The young fishes are thrown back, and only fishes that that are, caught in this basket are distributed among themselves for personal consumption and also for sale. And during breeding season of winter months, they do not practice fishing. Okay. And Bhotias, for example, they are the tribes that live in central Himalayas and they harvest only mature leaves for medicinal uses. So this kind of sustainable practices are required to conserve wildlife. Well, the crisis of the day is that we are losing a lot of forest. Okay, the rate of deforestation is very, very high. And 10 million hectares are lost globally each year. This is the report of UNEP. So, what do you think is the major driver for the loss of forests? So, agriculture. We think urbanization, we think industrial development, but no, agriculture is one of the major drivers across the planet for deforestation, especially palm oil cultivation, ranching. All these are leading the forest to be cleared at a very alarming rate. And the species, the associated wildlife is also getting extinct. We are losing species at a rate 1,000 times faster than the natural extinction rate. The reasons are again, we are destroying their habitats, we are over exploiting resources, and we are introducing invasive species. Invasive species, for example, is a eucalyptus tree, that is not native to this region and it has actually depleted a lot of groundwater and introducing species without understanding how the other species would survive with this species in the ecosystem. And pollution and climate change are major drivers for species extinction. Also, as discussed earlier, habitat fragmentation is, limiting the gene flow. The younger ones are not as strong as the other ones, and there are inbreeding problems that are occurring. And also, roads, dams, agricultures, and fences are all, fragmenting the habitat. Nowadays, eco bridges are seen where, without disturbing the forest, without fragmenting the habitat, government is trying to actually build eco bridges where the bridge goes over the road. Okay, it's like a flyover and the animals can freely move. But then we need more such eco bridges to happen across the country. Okay, and whenever there is a man animal conflict, there is definitely retaliatory killing. So, this is another reason where we are using biodiversity. Well, so 47 biodiversity heritage sites have been declared by the government recently. Okay, so biodiversity heritage sites are something that the state government can propose and approve. These are sites which are very fragile in nature and that needs to be protected. The one in Telangana is Aminpur Lake. Okay, it is one of the first biodiversity states of the country, biodiversity sites of the country. Well, it is not a grim story after all. We have a lot of success stories to talk about. India can boast about a lot of success stories, and Kaziranga National Park that hosts the single-horned rhinoceros is one of the most successful story that we can boast of. Okay, even before the Wildlife Act 1972 came up, this single-horned rhinoceros was conserved. Okay, and this is one amazing species that has been existing since a lot of millennia. Okay, so this is an ancient creature and it is absolutely necessary because it is a mega herbivore. It kind of controls the population of the plant species that grow. And it is mainly present in India and Nepal. Again, there was a lot of poaching, there was a lot of hunting, even during the British era. And the British government itself declared Kaziranga as a conserved area, and but still it wasn't very effective. But by in 2023, rhinoceros Project Rhino was declared one of the most successful conservation programs because it again led community-led efforts in its conservation. And in 1960s, there were just 600 rhinos, and now there are over 4,000 rhinos. And the Orang National Park, apart from Kaziranga, and giving new national parks for rhinoceros conservation, is a testament that the rhinoceros population is growing and they are prized for their horns. Okay, it is recently some 2,400 horns that were already poached have been burnt, indicating that they have zero tolerance towards poaching. Actually, the local tribe has a lot of reverence and respect for this species, and they think that a majestic species like this, something that doesn't even make a lot of noise, it only simply grazes, and it is by itself. It is even very lowly to hunt and poach these animals, and hence they supported a lot. The forest department got a lot of support from the local community, and Kaziranga became an iconic tourist destination with rhinoceros as the major attention seeker. And this is another conservation story that India can tell the world well. So, what is it that you and I can do? The theme for International Biodiversity Day is harmony with nature and sustainable development. There are many targets that we have taken. The goals of sustainable development, SDG goal 11 also speaks about making cities and human settlements safe, resilient, and sustainable. So, what is it that you and I can do? See, there is a lot of importance to the green and blue spaces in a city. By green, I mean parks, and blue spaces, I mean water bodies. Okay, it's very important to kind of restore these spaces, conserve these spaces, and actually, Chennai Coimbatore project is a fantastic example of how greenery can be revived. Okay, Coimbatore market actually planted a lot of native trees, and it saw that within in 2021 they started this project by an NGO, and right now it is a thriving place, and 35 bird species and 27 butterfly species have come back. Okay, and we can do our bit in things like waste segregation, okay, not throwing garbage into the lakes and controlling sewage pollution. These go a long way in restoring the blue water bodies of the city. And all our independent houses are giving way to flats, apartment complexes. Otherwise, these independent houses had, a lot of mango trees, jackfruit trees, and things like that. And all this green cover is slowly vanishing. So what we can do is probably the horticulture department can encourage roof gardens, kitchen gardens, and grow our own food, at least to an extent, even medicinal plants. So I strongly urge the resident welfare associations, NGOs, and corporates, to come together and create green spaces and conserve the blue spaces that we already have. UN Habitat's principle is 330-300 prescription it gives. What is 3? Every house, every school, every workplace should be able to have a view of 3 fully grown trees. And 30% of green cover is mandated to be present in neighborhoods. And within 300 meters of walk or a bike ride, we should have an access to half hectare to 1 hectare of a park. Some green space should be available. If we can try and build these things into our life, definitely a lot of greenery and biodiversity, and in turn, human health and well-being can be made. So definitely, we need to reduce from consumerism. We have to move towards consciousness, make conscious choice of products. So reduce waste, segregate waste, and try and plant native trees in urban spaces, and say no to products linked to deforestation, unsustainable palm oil, meat, etc. You can follow some responsible ecotourism. All the popular tourist spots are just, they have heaps and heaps of plastic everywhere. We litter everywhere. So unsustainable. If I go see the place and come back, that's enough. We are not bothered. I mean, I was actually shocked when I went to Masuri, all those waterfalls and all the Maggie points, everything were inside the waterfall. I mean, they have encroached, they have built artificial structures, created even artificial waterfalls obstructing the natural flow, and built an eatery there. So that is not the kind of tourism that we should promote. We should follow responsible ecotourism. And, we do a lot of drives from Rotary. We do a lot of lake conservation cleanups and waste management drives, etc. So you can join any of the organizations that are doing. Even Vishwa is doing a fantastic work in making Hyderabad zero waste by 2027. So if we can lend support to initiatives like this, it will make a huge difference. So these are the few pictures of our lake cleanups, and this is something. This is an e-waste drive that we did recently at a school. So you can do at your individual capacity. You can partner with NGOs, because ecology is the only permanent economy. Ultimately, it's about remembering that we are a part of this web and not separate from it. What we do to nature, we do to ourselves. Okay, I think Sundarlal Bahuguna said it beautifully that ecology is the only permanent economy.